Prior to World War II, a woman's life was mostly in the household. Pearl Harbor was bombed on December 7, 1941, and the United States entered World War II. Many men above age 18 went to war. Women triumphantly inherited the jobs left behind by men. The public was outraged, but couldn't do anything about it. Through it all, Nancy Love and Jacqueline Cochran organized the W.A.S.P. organization. They took flight not to only help with war efforts, but to prove the ability of women in the workforce. World War II ended, and W.A.S.P. were tragically disbanded with no recognition. 65 years passed. In 2009, President Obama gave the Congressional Gold Medal to the remaining W.A.S.P. for recognition that was long overdue. Before World War II, the women's role was mostly in the household. This priority didn't stop Amelia Earhart from following her dreams of flying. Men earned all the money and did all the heavy lifting for the family. Usually before the war, I just stayed home cooking, cleaning, and keeping care of the children. World War II began in September of 1939, and the United States stayed neutral. Even though the war was raging in Germany, many were frightened of the Nazis. At each port we visited, I felt deep hatred of Hitler, who had already engendered. Nazis spoke confidently in loud voices. Aircraft weren't used until the end of World War I. Jacqueline Cochran, a cosmetic business owner, followed Amelia's path of flying. Jackie became an accomplished pilot who ended up owning her own plane. Another accomplished woman pilot was Nancy Love. Nancy earned her pilot's license at age 16 and was a member of the 99 Club for Women Flyers. Through the beginning of World War II, women kept their original role of staying in the household. On December 7, 1941, Pearl Harbor was bombed by Japan and the United States entered World War II.
And the Arizona smashed, sunk and burning on the first day of that treacherous attack which took the Americans completely by surprise. America was not at war, and no danger was thought to be within 1,000 miles of Hawaii. The result, of course, has been disastrous. No one, after following the agonizing trail of defeats in the Pacific war zone, can have any doubt on that score. The Japanese bombs did tremendous damage to the immediate strength of America's Pacific air power, as well as to her Pacific sea power, which was based upon Pearl Harbor. These views, taken later, indicate a measure of the damage caused by the devastating attack launched from Japanese aircraft.
Nancy Love and Jackie Cochran used the bombing of Pearl Harbor to promote their idea of women pilots. Even after entering World War II, General Hap Arnold, a dedicated officer, declined the request. With the decline, Jackie sent a letter asking First Lady Eleanor Roosevelt for her opinion. In a daily newspaper column, Miss Roosevelt wrote, "There's just a chance that this is not a time where women should be patient. We are in war and we need to fight with all of our ability in every weapon possible. Women pilots, in this case, are a weapon waiting to be used." After the publishing of the newspaper, General Hap finally agreed and sent Jackie and 25 skilled women pilots to Britain, who had already began employing women pilots. With the result, General Hap saw he knew it was the right time to use women pilots. Finally, in 1942, Women Auxiliary Flying Squadron and Women's Flying Training Detachment were formed. They were being run by Nancy Love and Jackie Cochran. Not only did women start flying, but jobs were open to them as well. The public also stepped up to help with war efforts. They formed victory gardens to save food for the soldiers. The government wanted individuals to provide their own food. Even though women pilots were permitted to fly for the military, generals spoke with an attitude of "over my dead body." In 1943, W.A.S.P.s and W.F.D.D. joined forces to form Women Air Force Service Pilots, formerly known as W.A.S.P. The one goal that the women had was to prove that they can work more efficiently and safely than the men. Many still opposed women pilots, but General Robin Olds and Hap Arnold, along with Miss Roosevelt, agreed with the idea. When the W.A.S.P. program was formed, more than 25,000 women applied and only 1,074 were accepted and graduated. Many of the women were flying with no past experience. The heavens had opened and rained blessing on me. The Army has decided to let women ferry ships, and I'm going to be one of them. More than 120 bases across the United States were being occupied by W.A.S.P. Women were determined not to embarrass themselves or the program. One wrong move and the W.A.S.P. program could be over. Training was never ending and pushed the women to their limits. The women pilots needed to know the same materials that the men knew. Advertising was a key role. Rosie the Riveter was one of the most famous women of World War II. The press twisted stories of the women pilots. The New York Times portrayed the women pilots as irresponsible nitwits. The women didn't stop pushing for the respect that they deserved. Towards the end of World War II, the women pilots were no longer needed. They were sent a letter from General Hap Arnold on October 1, 1944. In bringing to a close this important program of the Army Air Forces, I wish to express my appreciation to you for your resourceful, imaginative, and timeless work. The success of the W.A.S.P. program is due in large measure to your contribution as its director. On May 7, 1945, Germany surrendered. Finally, Japan surrendered after the United States dropped 2 atomic bombs on September 2, 1945. From 1941 to 1945, women proved that they can do work more efficiently and safely. Women stayed quiet until 1977 when they asked for veterans' benefits. This bill was accepted after a 33-year-long battle for it. Many disagreed because they believed that the women didn't fight directly during the war. The women silenced their needs and stayed that way for 65 years. Finally, in 2008, former W.A.S.P. named Elena D. Harmon and her family protested about W.A.S.P. not being part of the history presented at Arlington National Cemetery. When Elena finally passed away, her final wish was to be buried at Arlington. This was declined because W.A.S.P. didn't qualify. I realized at some point they are going to run out of space at Arlington. Why would we not want to have the story as W.A.S.P. as part of that legacy? Finally, in 2009, President Obama agreed to sign the bill giving remaining W.A.S.P. the Congressional Gold Medal.
Given by the Congress. Deanie Parrish of Waco, Texas, was chosen to receive the medal on behalf of all W.A.S.P.s.
Every single one of these ladies deserves to be standing where I am standing. Over 65 years ago, we each served our country without any expectations of recognition or glory. And we did it without compromising the values that we were taught as we grew up: honor, integrity, patriotism, service, faith, and commitment.
The greatest generation that saved democracy and Western civilization was not limited to one gender. You gave all that you could to save the United States of America and the world who was at war.
Today we right a wrong and acknowledge our debt to these great patriots, women who are so worthy of this award and this recognition.
While some of the W.A.S.P. say the medal itself is a nice gesture, they hope the publicity will teach younger generations about the accomplishments and remind some still skeptical men of just how capable women are.
I think it was the tribute to what we have done. And I think when we were serving as W.A.S.P., we were never in it for the glory. We were never, ever thinking that it would turn out to be as wonderful as it is. To receive such an honor is just unimaginable. So for me, it's been one of the highlights of my life.
The medal helped prove how the ability of women is powerful. Even till today, women are still fighting for equal rights in the workforce. The W.A.S.P. served our country without hesitation and no expectation of recognition. We would be remiss not to honor a cadet of women who paved the way for future generations of women in the military. Women are allowed to serve in the branches of the military side by side with men. Through all the troubles, women have never seemed to give up on their dreams of a better future. Truly, women have come a long way from where they began. The public and men's opinion didn't stop the women from following their dreams. That World War II, women may have not had the opportunity to prove their abilities. Today, women are given more privileges to work as men do. Even though the ways of life have changed, women are still fighting for the same equality as the men.